Hello, the King Lear is greatest tragedy written by William Shakespeare. There are four main great tragedies: Macbeth, King Lear, Othello. King Lear is old and has decided to give his power over his three daughters so that he can live his last years untroubled. His eldest daughter, Condrill, is married to the Duke of Albany. Regan is next. Her husband is the Duke of Cornwall. Cordelia is the youngest and is Lear's favorite. The King of France and the Duke of Burgundy are at court, each hoping to marry her. Before the diversion of lands, Lear asks his daughters who loves him most. Candril and Regan praises him to the heights, but Cordelia has nothing to say. Lear tries to pursue her, but she refuses to play this game. Lear enraged, nothing will come of nothing. The Earl of Kent, Lear's loyal adversary, defends Cordelia. Lear banishes him. He must leave within 10 days or die. There is no dowry to be had from marriage to Cordelia. Burgundy retracts his proposal. But the King of France steps forward and claims Cordelia. Lear storms out. The King of France and Cordelia leave the court. Candril and Regan discusses their father. They must act carefully to gain power. Although banished, Kent is still loyal to the king and worries about this his power hungry daughters. He disguises himself as a servant and calls himself Caius. He works for Lear and defends his honor when the sister or their servants are belittling the king. The Earl of Gloucester is another of Lear's adversaries. He has two sons. His eldest is Edgar, who will inherit his title and wealth. Gloucester's younger son Edmund was born outside of marriage. Gloucester loves him, but Edmund is still plagued by the fact that he is illegitimate, a pastor, and will therefore inherit nothing. Edmund studies the stars and the constellations for previouses. He shows his father letters, supposedly written by Edgar, in which Edgar suggests the killing of their father. Gloucester does not realize that Edmund has faked the letter and is angry and puzzled and hurt. Edmund warns Edgar that he must leave or he will be killed. Edgar runs away. Edmund cuts himself and tells his father that Edgar did it to him. Edgar disguises himself as a baker and calls himself Poor Tom. He lives in a hovel on the hill and covers his naked body with mud and dirt. King Lear, now powerless, tries to negotiate with his daughters how many of his knights he can bring with him to their two homes. Cundrill and Regan question why he needs even one knight. Lear is outraged, fuming. Oh, question not the deed. Both daughters refuses to house his man. Lear is livid at their refusal. He travels with his fool, who keeps reminding him of how he abandoned his only truly loving daughter. Leo fears that he is losing his mind. He takes off his clothes and runs onto a hill in the rain. He shouts at the wind and challenges the storm and ignores Kint and his fool, who urge him to find shelter. They encounter Edgar in his naked, muddy state, and Lear feels close to him. Both raged, fragile in their minds, they spend time in a makeshift shelter where Lear images his daughter in court and trial of them. Gulchester arrives and wants to help Lear. Edmund tells Regan and Cornwall of his father's attempt to help him. Gloucester's allegiance to the king is seen as treachery. Regan and Cornwall tie Gloucester up. They torture him and put out his eyes. Lear is taken secretly to Dover. Cordelia has landed there with the French army. The blinded Gloucester meets his son Edgar whilst wandering. Edgar is hugely distressed by his father's condition but disguises his grief and continues to be poor Tom. He leads his father to Dover. Gloucester wants to kill himself. Edgar leads him to what he describes as a cliff. It is really just a flat beach. Gloucester throws himself off but survives as there was no real fall. Lear and Cordelia are wonderfully reconciled. She forgives him and he is happy to be with her again.